Yeah. Hey, let's get it. I know. All day long. Put that over there. And I can't sit over there. Is taking up a little more interest in art. So I'm really glad for that. That's too bad.
Okay.
What do we have? What's the deal?
Well, last Thursday.
Yeah, but.
They arrested one or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, who was actually
Yeah.
Dwayne. Okay, I know that.
And they put it on the car. We got it out the door.
6 o'clock, I'd like to call our meeting to order, please. Let's all stand and pledge allegiance to our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looking for a motion and a second to adopt tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Second. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Public comment. Citizens may speak on the items not listed on the printed agenda. Please state your name and address and observe the 3-minute time limit. Steve Smith. Sure, if you would come up to the podium and state your name and address.
That's Philip.
Philip, okay.
Don't get mixed up, right?
Philip was eager to talk.
It's okay.
Philip Steed, 203 Broad Street. And the reason I'm here is because, is that Lawford or his name? Cliff Laughlin and Todd Smith got the lot there at First Street in Broad. Well, they piled up a bunch of wood there to be straightened up, and then instead of hauling it off, they burned it. And we put up with it over a week. I called Cliff last Saturday. He didn't call me back for a long time, but anyway, he finally called me back. He said, well, I wonder why he's doing that. I'm on vacation, I'll call Todd. Well, nothing got done, so I called Todd. Next day, Todd hadn't heard from Cliff, of course. So neither one of them's done nothing. The thing's still smoldering. Some days we get a little relief and it chokes somebody else. Most of the days it comes right up our street. I've got some pictures of my yard. You would not believe how smoky. Rita Love sat on the porch. She ain't been able to for a week. There's no reason. Okay, let me go through this again. I started out, when I found out I wasn't going to get anything from them, I called the fire department. The horn went off for a minute. It didn't last but a second. So I told Rita, I said, we're going to get a visit now. So the fire chief come and said he couldn't do that. They had burn permit. Well, Steve talked to one of the police officers. He couldn't do that. So I said, well, town manager, when I've been plant manager of plants, I was responsible for everything. So I said, she's responsible. So I called town manager. She can't do that. So I called the guy that issued the permit through the forestry place. He says he can't do that. So he gives me the number of some clean air place in Winston, some more government stuff. So I thought, well, people in Winston don't care if we joking, if people in Denton don't. So I called Scotty the other night, and he said maybe the only out I had was a leak on the time it could burn, because it's been burning, like I say, over a week. And I don't know what you found out, you didn't talk about it. They know. But there's no reason, it's not like, you know, me morning at 2 o'clock in the evening and waking him up from his nap. This is two guys messing up the whole community. The smoke's bad. There's people on the street behind us, which I don't know the number of streets and stuff in Denton, but back there where Paula and Gallimore's house is, the house that's directly behind Jackie, they said they had really struggled with it. And that first rent house down there, I don't know if you still own it or not, but some days you can't hardly see it. So it ain't like, you know, I don't know why everybody in the neighborhood ain't here bitching about it, but it's not. When I called the town manager, she said that she had had several emails and several calls about it, but nothing's been done. There's no reason for two guys, I guess it's a matter of money, it always is. I guess it's cheaper to burn it and haul it off. There's no reason for two guys to just ruin a week plus for the whole neighborhood. I mean, why can't the town do something about it? I don't understand. But anyway, if you can't, I really beg you to do something, put something on the books, so if this happens in the future, we don't have to drown in somebody else's smoke for weeks. Because that fire, that pile's not half down, is it?
No, not this way.
So we could easily put up with another week or two if they continue to burn. So that's all I wanted to say. I just asked you to, maybe while y'all here together tonight, maybe you can do something. Maybe you brainstorm and figure out some kind of an app we've got, but I guess it's a matter of money. They got the bucks and I don't, but well, that's just ridiculous, you know, that we having to be at the most inconvenienced. And I ain't trying to be a drama queen or nothing, but if somebody in the neighborhood really had COPD or something bad, it would really be rough on them. I ain't lying, it's that bad. So that's all I want to say. Thank y'all for your time.
Hey, thank you for your concern.
Yes, sir.
I did see it, and a lot of us did.
Yeah.
And it
Now
was
today
pretty
it's
bad.
not.
I called the town manager
Yeah.
too.
If y'all ride
We
by
did.
after the meeting and look, it's not today anything like it has been previously.
I've looked at it several
And what
times.
gets me is the guy up the street, he cleared a lot more land than they have. And he didn't say nothing on it. He hauled it all off. So I know it would be done. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Brandon,
Steve?
you have something to say? I was gonna ask Brandon, how long, did the burn been good for so many days?
Depends on how they filled it out, most of the time they're good for about a week.
That's what I thought, okay.
Well, they're past their limit. Steve Smith, 221 Broad Street. I've lived on that street since 77. It's been a quiet street. People have observed speed limits. They're courteous until recently. The construction on the end of the street at the cul-de-sac is a mess. And I was just wondering if somebody can tell me that the water pressure at my house is nothing to shout about now.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be affected? Electricity, the street, it's a tiny street. 25 houses, that's 50 cars twice a day, 100 cars. Street needs updating. Speed limits. These are a lot of people walk on that street over there. Another thing, the town, I think, is thinking about opening up a walking park down behind Wilson. I'd like to say, I don't think that would be a good idea. And I know it was given to the town for a park, but I think it ended up being a drug haven. And does anybody know what's being built where the smoke's coming from?
They have not requested a zoning permit for that property yet. So there's not any indications.
So it could be anything.
It's a it's a zone neighborhood business, and so there are several options that could be there. Could be a business or it could be housing, just depends on which direction they seek to go.
Well, that's a tiny street, good little neighborhood up until now. I'll leave you with that.
Thank you very much.
Larry, can I ask one more thing? Is there anything that can be done about that smoke? Does any of y'all know of any outs we have, or anybody else I can contact?
Well, I know that this board would more than likely, I can speak for myself, you know, we'd like to help you. But it is an issue, permit from the State Forestry Service, correct?
Mhm.
And
Yeah, that's what we call
it
it.
deals with them mainly instead of the town on that issue. It's because it's a clearing of a lot
Right.
versus just somebody burning in their
Well, if
backyard.
it's out, in a rural area, it'd be fine to burn it, but we're pretty congested around there, so.
I know.
Mhm.
May I ask, did you reach out to West Salem for the air quality control?
Yeah, I had been disappointed by so many, I didn't even call them, but
Okay.
maybe that would be, he gave me a number to call,
Okay.
but
They're the only ones that really can do something like that.
everybody in Winston would care if my cats got COPD. But it should never, but I'm past my time, it shouldn't have never been allowed that he done that, and I don't know why it's been allowed to continue, but anyway, that's just.
Well, the ordinance allows it.
But the ordinance shouldn't,
Well,
change the ordinance.
We
In that
can't change
populated
it,
area.
can't change it overnight, but it can be changed, but
The
it,
boys got the money to put that stuff on a truck and haul it off.
yeah,
They don't have to
but it
run.
does allow it the way it reads right
It's
now.
actually by the state ordinance, so we don't have a right to change that. It's only for the property clearing. Everything else, is not allowed to be burned, leaves and debris, because we provide that service to our residents. But, by state ordinance, they allow for the clearing of property. So,
That's I don't know of anything like that in the last 10 years that's occurred. That was new to me.
yeah.
Sorry that happened.
Is part of that property also RA?
Maybe the back portion, because there's actually 3 parcels there. The front parcel that corners First Street and Broad is owned by Cliff Laughlin, and the back 2 parcels are owned by Todd and Angel Smith. So, those back 2 are RA, but the front, is neighborhood business.
Okay, Maggie KK. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Good.
My name is Maggie Kotek. I live at 185 East Finch Avenue. I've lived in Denton for 3 years now, and I love it here. At my property, we've come across some issues with water. I have talked to the town manager about it. I know that some of it's being addressed, but I guess my question is, where I live on the corner of Finch Avenue and Varner, our ditches are full of everything that runs off from 109. And then is that the city's job to upkeep them ditches, to scoop them out, to remove all that debris so it can flow through the tile because the tiles are full. And then, there's overgrowth and branches and stuff all in there, and it's, causing my property to flood and washing out a driveway of ours. We have taken it upon ourselves to clear a bunch of the woods and put in a new driveway because we couldn't keep gravel in it, so we paved it because the water would just run into our carport. I know that some of it is from 109, like coming down the street into our property, and then there's nowhere for it to flow because the ditches are full. And then I also have a property behind my house that is the drainage from Rick's on one side, and they have a tile that comes out of the hill, but it doesn't have a natural waterway
Right.
because of all the trees and debris down.
It's the one behind the cleaners, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's my issue, and I just want to know how that, is going to be handled, or how you guys do that. I know that she's addressed it, and we're going to have the ditches cleaned out, but I don't know what the code enforcer saw today either.
If I can, I'll address that. So Ace was in town today and you guys weren't there. I was hoping you'd be home, but, he actually went out and kind of walked the property line and looked at the, drainage coming off of the two properties on 109, which is, Rick's Restaurant, and now it's the Boutique, Southern Boutique, I believe is the name of it. And he's looking into seeing what can be done. He did walk through that property, and it does appear there is a natural flow of water that has probably been filled in from the years of just wash. And so there's not a direct path that the water takes. It kind of just flows the entire property. And then that's what's coming over into the back of your property. So he is looking at that. We do have a work order in for Public Works to clear the ditch line. We've had to go in before, and Michael attests to this, to actually dredge that ditch a little bit more, make it deeper. It is full of gravel. The tile that goes under her back driveway, it has just washed over the past several rainstorms that's come in. And then the tile that goes under the road, Chris actually got in and looked at that today, and it does have some wash debris that's come in there. So I'm hopeful that if we can get those two elements, that'll help dredge a lot more of that. But it still doesn't help the standing water on the back of the property. And took a lot of pictures today as well as code. So he's looking into the direction. He said that the issue with standing water is you have to direct them into what they have to do. And so he's not sure what that direction is, but just looking at it from all aspects. So today's his first day having eyes on it. So
my other concern is, so you know where the tile goes underneath the road. I don't think that's anybody's property where that waterway is on the opposite side. So my house is on this, the opposite side of me. But according to,
it's the property that runs behind Shabby Chic, the older house there, and goes back.
It's somebody's property.
Yeah, I looked at the layout
Grow
today.
trees, right?
Yeah, the house across from you actually owns a portion of that. Yeah. And then the business on Peacock, it kind of splits it. So and that runs actually to a tile that is behind Davison Tire, which they redid this intersection of Peacock last year and redid all that tile work there. So I'm thinking that if, like I said, once we have all of ours cleaned out, that might help with a lot of that, but it's that direction of the water coming off of the.
So would that be the owner of the house across from mine? I know her name's Darlene Conrad. She rents that house, and then behind Shabby Chic. So all that brush and all the all the
just the overgrowth.
Yeah, the overgrowth and stuff. That's their responsibility to clear that out from that waterway that was made by the city.
It's not made by the city. It is a natural, like the tile belongs to the city. Yeah. We put that under the road, so we maintain those throughout town. But there are a lot of areas in town that we do have like a natural creek. I did talk to a prior owner that owned your house about 10 years ago, and she said there is
Tanya.
Yeah, Tanya.
I know her.
And so she said that there is actually a natural creek that runs through there as well, because her son used to play in it.
Yeah.
So, creeks are whoever's property they fall on.
Okay.
But like I said, once our right of way is cleared, the tile's cleared, the culvert's cleared, then we'll know better about the situation. But like I said, and Chris is working on the main part of that.
Good.
Okay. So, but he walked out, he was in dress clothes today, and he was out in the mud and everything.
It's muddy back there.
Yes, it is very muddy. So, and a good grove of weeds that's growing. So we, as soon as I have a report back from him, I'll reach out to you, see what we do, and we'll keep trying to move forward with it.
Awesome. Well, I guess it's under control. So far, so good.
We hope.
Yeah.
It's first step.
Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody's time. That's all I wanted to say. But I did want to ask something about them burning. So if there is a burn ban, say we can't have bonfires or anything in our backyard, are they still allowed to burn when they're clearing property? Is that okay?
It's the only thing that is allowed by.
Oh, okay.
And it's for the clearing of property only.
Okay. I was just wondering about that because I'm like, yeah, I've seen it too. I drive home on 109. I've come through there when it's all the way across the road, the smoke. So yeah, it's pretty bad. But thank you.
Thank you. Can we revisit, Steve? Wait a minute. Can we revisit something? Steve asked a couple of questions, and I believe, we can give him an answer. He asked about the water pressure, and he asked about, the road.
So,
Could we address that?
so the water pressure is an ongoing project with our engineers. We're getting ready to do a hydraulic study in that area because we have had a loss of water pressure, as you know, if you've lived there for any amount of time. So they're gonna try to see where the issues are, and if there's a potential problem. There's a possibility of putting boosters in the area to try to boost that pressure for you for the development that is being built as well. The road, we know that Broad Street is in really bad condition, but we do not want to pave it until the construction is
I
finished.
can understand that,
Yeah.
the trucks all day long.
All day. And so that street, as the board will tell you, it's high priority on our list. It's just, we're trying to get past that construction on that road.
I don't know what kind of, I can't believe a corner in Denton's governed by the state as far as burn laws and stuff, but I don't know what it'd take. I ain't talked to my neighbors, but I wonder what up there at Tyler's old house, Tyler Varner's, and maybe down there at the crossroads down below Jackie's, if we put speed bumps. Cause Steve wasn't exaggerating, I guarantee you, I'm out there walking dogs and people come through there 55 miles an hour.
Well, as part of the agreement for that development, once they are finished and the road is being paved, the developer is supposed to pay to put speed bumps on that street.
Is that
So, yeah, so that will be a good thing for y'all, because that, as y'all recall, that was part of the agreement. So that will, I'm not sure where they'll fall on that road, but that was part of the agreement.
Well, maybe that'll slow people down.
Yeah, and we can definitely look at, we've got our speed limit signs now that record speeding, and we're checking out different parts of town, so we can definitely do that side as well. We haven't done the residential streets yet, but we can definitely add that to the list to check, see if we can figure out what's going on.
Yeah, well, it seems like you guys are already on.
We're trying. It's always one more piece of the puzzle.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Public hearing for consideration of special use permit and variance in accordance with North Carolina GS, Moss Mini Storage, 31 Bell Avenue.
Mr. Mayor, I need to recuse myself from both of these votes as I own the property.
And I believe we need a motion and a second and a vote for that.
I make a motion to allow Mr. Morris to recuse himself from the votes. Second.
Any further discussion on that? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sally, you recuse.
Open public hearing.
Okay.
And we'll go forward.
This hearing is a quasi judicial evidentiary hearing. That means it is like a court hearing. State law sets specific procedures and rules concerning how this board must take its decision. These rules are different from any other types of land and decisions like rezoning cases. The board's discretion is limited. The board must base its decision upon competent, relevant, and substantial evidence in the record. A quasi-judicial decision is not a popularity contest. It is a decision constrained by the standards in the ordinance and based on the facts presented. If you will be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and standards, not personal preference or opinion. Participation is limited. This meeting is open to the public. Everyone is welcome to watch. Parties withstanding have rights to participate fully. Parties may present evidence, call witnesses, and make legal arguments. Parties are limited to the applicant, the local government, and individuals who can show that they will suffer special damages. Other individuals may serve as witnesses when called by the board. General witness testimony is limited to facts, not opinions. For certain topics, this board needs to hear opinion testimony from expert witnesses. These topics include projections about impacts on property values and projections about impacts on increased traffic. Individuals providing expert opinion must be qualified as experts and provide the factual evidence upon which they base their expert opinion. Witnesses must swear or affirm their testimony. At this time, we'll administer the oath for all individuals who intend to provide witness testimony.
So if there's anyone who intends to speak for or against, or any staff members that intend to testify, if you'll all please come forward now. Anybody else? Just you two? Okay, place left hands on, raise your right. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and but nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Testimony, order, presentation. The specific order for a quasi-judicial hearing will depend on the local rules of procedure and policies of the board. A common approach is as follows: staff presentations, applicant's testimony and arguments, other parties' testimony and arguments, other witnesses' testimony. And I would call our first witness at this time.
Mayor Ward and Board, I'd just like to present some information. I've given you backup documents from Scotty Morris regarding the potential of having a mini storage building located at the corner of Bingham and Bell, which is actually located just behind Town Hall at the corner of that property. This is a special use permit and also a request for a variance. And if I may get a point of order with our attorney, do we have to treat these as two separate public hearings?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll
So
hear.
the special use first.
We'll use special use first. Okay, so if you'll look at your packet for your special use permit, the property is in neighborhood business, and by our permitted use table that we updated last year, it is stated that it is allowed in this area to have a self-storage mini warehouse, but it is by special use permit. If you look at the layout of the property, there is a map, an aerial map for you. There was a public hearing the notice for public hearing was published in the Denton Orator on June the 21st, and the letters were mailed out to the adjacent property owners and also posted at the property. The Planning and Zoning Board did hear this at their June meeting, and they did approve this with no special requirements for the property. In consideration of this construction, the board would need to take the following fact findings. The use will not materially endanger the public health or safety where it is located for the purpose of development according to the plan that is submitted and approved. The use meets all required conditions and specifications. The use will not substantially injure the value of the adjoining or abating properties and the use of public necessity. And the location and the character of the use, if developed according to the plan submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area. This is neighborhood business. There's only one house that's located, and it's at the end of Bingham Avenue. There are businesses that surround the property, so there would not be any impact to the community with putting the mini storages there. So if it is the recommendation of staff that we do approve the special use permit for the purpose of a mini storage unit located at 31 Bell Avenue. Do you have any questions for myself or for Mr. Morris?
It's in the fence, right? That's
Yeah.
where the fence is.
No, the fence is here.
There's
Here's
This is
the
the
fence,
fence. This is-
okay?
Yeah, it's beside the fence.
There's actually a parcel in between Mr. Morris's property and Mr.
Fence.
Fisher's property. Yeah.
It's on there.
Yeah,
But it's,
it's not.
okay.
Tommy Carrick actually owns a strip of land between the two parcels, and he was at the last meeting and did not have any objections to having mini storages placed there.
And the house she's talking about is back in LI district,
It is actually, yeah, it changes to LI,
the Long Plant House.
yeah, it does.
And somebody lives in that now?
They do, they've been living there since I've been here, it's a retired lady and her son. But the proposed unit is, it's at 20 by 100 with 20 10 by 10 units. And they would be back to back with a drive around.
What's the total width of this property?
Mine, 48 feet.
And that's enough room to get a car back behind it?
It'll be built like Larry, or what used to be Larry's.
It meets all the setbacks.
I'm assuming, what they look like.
In the packet that has, Mr. Morris's letter on the front, it has the actual diagram of your setbacks that are on there. So this first part is just the request for the special use permit allowing the construction of the mini storage warehouse on this property. I thought that was mine.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
And just remember when you make your motion, whoever makes it, you have to read it.
This whole thing, right?
Yeah. Okay, but I printed it for you this time.
No questions? Okay.
I'm good with it. I don't have any
We need to call Scotty if there.
No, I mean,
Okay.
he's fine to answer.
Got any questions, you have to answer?
Yeah.
Ready to roll?
Yeah.
Based on the stated findings of fact, I move that a special use permit be issued for construction of a mini storage unit. The approval of this request would be conforming to the surrounding property. The motion is based on on the following findings of fact. The use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed and developed according to the plan as submitted and approved, because the property is zoned neighborhood business and would be comparable to adjunct properties. The use meets all, number two, the use meets all required conditions and specifications because self-storage buildings are allowed by special use permit per current permitted use table in the Town of Denton zoning ordinance. 3, this will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property or that the use is a public necessity because the construction of a mini self-storage unit on this parcel will not injure the adjoining properties. The location and character of the use, if developed according to the plan submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and in general conformity with the plan of development of Denton and its environs because neighborhood business zoning is created to allow for businesses and homes to coexist in the same area with minimal disruption. This project would conform to existing zoning.
At this time we'll have a vote.
Second.
Any further discussion? No, we'll have a vote. All in favor, please raise your right hand. And there's no opposed. Okay. That motion carries.
Then we will need to close this public hearing and then open the next one.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Public hearing is now closed. Approved HVAC system contract.
We have the second part of the variance. I make a motion to open the public hearing, for the purpose of the variance, at 31 Bell Avenue.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
And I remind everyone that everyone that was sworn in is still sworn in.
So we've reviewed what our quasi judicial hearing is, and everyone is still present and aware of that. This is actually for a variance to this property that was just approved for a special use permit. Back of the property has an unopened alleyway that is between Mr. Marsh's property and Larry Furr's property for Mitchell Oil Company. The unopened alleyway is 20 foot, and we're asking for a variance to allow for a 10-foot setback from the back of the property line instead of a 20, which is usual requirement. If this alleyway were ever closed, he would gain that 10 foot anyway, so it would automatically be a 20-foot setback. Mr. Furr has indicated to Mr. Morris that he would prefer not to have that alleyway closed at any time, because if he ever needed access to his property through another means, he would have that connection there. So this request would be to allow for a 10-foot setback from the property line instead of a 20-foot setback. The Planning and Zoning Board did hear this, and they did approve this request on the June 12th meeting. It has been published in the paper, it has been sent out to the adjacent property owners, and it was also posted on the property. Do you guys have any questions or concerns about this? Like I said, it does show in detail if you guys have this map. It shows your actual alleyway, and it shows the 20 foot that's there. And as we know, to close an alleyway, property is split between the property owners, and they gain that 10 foot to each property.
The building beside of it already has encroached upon that alleyway,
They
is that correct?
have, Landon Fisher has fenced in his area, and he actually fenced it in across that alleyway portion.
And it would be 30 foot from, Mitchell Oil Company fence to my building, and the doors on the back of that building, all the doors on the sides of the building.
So if you guys feel that you have no reason to deny this, your fact findings are listed. It's a little bit different wording for your variances, but you're basically having to figure out if the applicant complies with the provisions of the ordinance. Unnecessary hardship would result in the property by applying strict applications to this ordinance. That is not one that we will be using. The hardship of which the applicant complains results from conditions that are particular to this property and unique circumstances related to the applicant's property. If the hardship is not the result of the applicant's own actions, or if the variance is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of this ordinance, and it preserves its spirit and assures public safety, welfare, and substantial justice. Does anybody have any questions regarding the request for the variance?
That being said, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
We have to.
Okay.
Based on the stated findings of fact, I move that the variance be granted based on the following. Variances when unnecessary hardships would result from carrying out the strict letter of the zoning ordinance. The Board of Adjustment shall vary any of the provisions in the ordinance upon showing of all of the following. And do I skip to number 2?
Yes,
Okay,
I would do, yeah.
The hardship of which the applicant complains results from conditions that are peculiar to the property and unique circumstances related to the applicant's property because there is an unopened alleyway on the south side of the property. In neighborhood business, rear setback is 20 feet. There are no plans to open this alleyway for public use. If the alleyway were to be closed, the property would be divided evenly to each of the adjoining parcels. This would provide an additional 10 feet for this setback. In granting this variance, no hardships would result to the adjacent property, to the adjunct property owners. 3, the hardship is not the result of the applicant's own actions because the alleyway was established by the town. 4, the variance is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of this ordinance and preserves its spirit and assures public safety, welfare, and substantial justice because granting this variance will not cause any public safety issues.
Looking for a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, just raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I don't think we closed the public hearing. We need to do that. Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries also. Approved HVAC system contract for the Denton Civic Center. Paula Hedrick.
Okay, so you were originally provided quotes from 3 of the companies that wanted to put in a bid for this. Since then, I've gained 1 additional. I did provide revised quotes for a couple of them. Starting at the beginning, I provided a copy of what I sent to each of the companies for them to use as a guidance as to what we were looking to get. I also noted on the second page any correspondence and the dates that I had with them during this time. When Kenny presented his quote, I noticed that it did not have any notations of the ductwork. So I have reached back out to him to ask him to look at that, and he said he would look at that tomorrow. So I do not have a revised quote for him. Bowie Electric. His quote came in fairly high, and so I went back to him because when he initially spoke to me, he felt like that all ductwork needed to be replaced. And after all the rest came in, most of them were with the consensus that we only needed to replace the flex ductwork. So with that said, I asked him to re-quote that, only replacing that flexible ductwork, and he came in just a little bit lower than initially. Airmax provided a quote. Initially, he had stated that Goodman provided a 10-year warranty on all parts, but that is for residential. So when I asked him about that, I think that's kind of standard on his form. He had forgot to change that. I provided you with another copy where he did go back and revise that, where it shows, because this is a commercial building, a 5-year warranty on all parts. So that was the only change on Airmax. And then Chad came in, Club Services will be the name on the top of that. And he provided a quote. I believe he did also state 10-year will have to have him revise that, but that is his quote that he provided. Everyone is now under the understanding that it is the flexible ductwork that we are wanting to replace and not the whole trunk line. Are there any questions?
Mike, do you have any idea how much the ductwork's messed up, if any?
There's not much, it's just a couple of the offshoots that go from the hard duct up to the register. I mean, you can replace the whole section, or you can cut it, put a splicer in.
All of them know the timeline, right? That we were meeting tonight.
Yes. Yes.
Can he give you an idea about ductwork?
He did not. So initially, whenever he called, he was just talking to me in general about what we needed. And so I didn't realize he had done work for us before. And I asked him, so well, you're welcome to provide a quote. Initially, I was told we probably wouldn't have to have replacement ductwork. But then after the guys started reviewing, going in and seeing what was there, there were 2 or 3 of them that stated definitely we needed some replacement, especially on the flex duct. So I went back to Kenny and asked him if he would quote that, and I didn't get a reply, so I sent him another reply today. And that's the reason he did come back and say he would look at it tomorrow.
He's $3,100 less than the cheapest one. Next one close to him. 3147.
I'm not familiar with Kenny's work. I am very familiar with Airmax work.
I'm familiar with their Max. Had a problem last week. Called him that morning. That afternoon he's there, and that's not the first time he's came the day you call him.
And so we don't really know though what his would be, because he's not, right? I mean, he
Maybe
didn't
not
know
the time.
it, so I'm,
I mean,
I feel like Air Max would be very, particular with his job and follow through with the meeting.
Oh yeah, he does good work, no question about that.
Yeah, he does.
Who put it in down at the old shop?
Kenny.
Michael, did Kenny actually install what's at the Civic Center now?
Kenny.
Kenny's electric, so.
Unless something changed with him, he's unlimited in his license, but he can hire electrical and plumbing. He's running both runners through all the cooling and heating systems for 5 or 6 years.
I don't know anything about it.
I don't personally know anything about him, but he did do the installation of ours at our home. So, and we've not had any problems.
I had reached out to him from the store before, and I never got a return call. That doesn't have any bearing on this, but I'm just saying.
He's actually done work here at Town Hall as well, when we were having issues with the units that were outside. Rebuilt several of them, when it was needed. If you wanted to wait to see what, Kenny's revised quote comes back in at, we could, call a special meeting to approve one or the other, but the air is not working at the Civic Center, so.
Only thing is cat sort out of the bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a real quote.
No.
Well, that is true. That is true. I do agree with that.
It's not complete, you didn't complete it. I mean, I hate to be ugly about it. I mean, we'll have another bids on other stuff.
Yeah, mine comes on just at $3,150, $47. If the ductwork's only gonna cost us $1,000, then we.
I guess maybe we should take into consideration last week was the week of the 4th, and a lot of people are gone.
That did make a difference in getting replies back and forth, plus getting them into the basement to see the stuff. I mean, it was, a process, so.
And we'll accept his bid, he just has to take the ductwork on his own. For the same bid. We can certificate.
You can.
Madam Attorney?
You can. And you're gonna get shoddy work? Do you take somebody off?
Could we approve it with, contingent upon his bid still coming in under the next closest bid?
We don't have to take the lowest bid.
No.
Oh, I know.
Do not have to take the lowest bid. If you prove it with that, the issue becomes that it's not a sealed bid situation.
I mean, really, right now, it's not a sealed bid now, it's already out here.
Yeah, you'd have to open it up, if you're gonna allow one to amend their bid, you really have to allow all to amend their bids.
Yeah.
We either reject all these and start over or go for
Or
another
accept
one.
one of them, yeah.
And I did put it out to everyone if they wanted to make the changes that were questionable, and he was notified Friday of that, as well as the others, so. And a second reach out today regarding it.
I'll make the motion to go over there next.
Second. Any further discussion on that? Not all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
And on the premise, Mr. Mayor, that it's not a complete bid.
True, I mean, yeah. We'd have had apples to apples to compare.
Yeah.
Review jobs creation beautification grant.
So you guys have a copy of our current jobs and business creation program and downtown beautification grants that we have had in place for many years. It was updated in April of 2020, and it has been asked to be looked at just to see if there's anything that we want to update to this grant process. The first one, if you don't mind, we'll just kind of take them one by one and get input as we look at them. So utility services is actually a grant for new businesses that may receive a grant for an amount equal to 3 months of their minimum monthly bill for water, sewer, and their trash service. The purpose of this grant is to increase the enterprise fund by the attraction of new customers for the town utility system. Since I've been here, we have not had anyone to apply for this particular grant. Not to say that we wouldn't, but we have not had anyone to request this. They do have to be in existence for a 12-month period of time, and then the grant will be paid back to them after that 1 year.
I don't have a problem with it, so we hadn't used it anyway, so.
Right.
Do people even know it exists?
Well, we have not promoted out in a while. We did run it in the paper last year. Kelly Bledsoe did an article on the grants that were available and just ran the whole grant outline. So it has been out there, but aside from promoting it periodically, they probably don't.
other, do you know, I don't know if Thomasville has anything like this, but do other towns, like when somebody puts in an application for, to open a business or whatever the application is, and it could town, does the town in turn give them a packet of information that this would be included in that?
Typically only if they ask.
Okay.
It's not something that is typically said, here, we're gonna give you free money or free services. But if the people ask when they come in and say, you know, what grants are available to new businesses or redevelopment, you know, City of Thomasville had stuff going on for a while that if you improved downtown buildings, you could get some tax abatement, tax credits and things like that. It's not really publicized. You have to ask as a general rule.
Okay.
Now, in some communities where they have specific downtown people that are hired just to try to bring businesses into downtown, then they use those tools to promote that. But that's typically all we see.
Okay, thank you.
So, we're saying
We'll just
no
move
more.
Yeah, move
Okay.
forward. Yep.
Okay, well, I was gonna also say, so we don't require a business license, so businesses don't come to us and ask, you know, for that information, but they would come get the water, so if they knew about the grant, they could ask
Okay.
for that information then. Okay, so the next one is for, new jobs, and it's any business, whether an existing or new, that adds a full-time employee of 35 hours per week or more within the town limits, may be eligible to receive a grant, and then we have a blank space there, which that means is that your discretion, how much money you would provide to them per employee that is hired. In order to qualify, the salary of the newly hired employee must be above the median wage for Davidson County as published by the North Carolina Department of Commerce, and I'm not sure what that is right at this moment. Minimum wage is still $7.50, $7.75 maybe.
But this is
I
higher
know.
than, this is higher than medium average.
It does, so
Those guys,
it's gonna be, I would say between 10, 15, maybe,
Yeah.
around that. So the salary amount would be documented, in a manner satisfactory to the town manager. Any employee positions created must remain filled for a period of 12 months after the hire date. And at the end of the 12-month period, the town grant would be paid upon documentation of the business to the effect that the employee was hired, the employee was full 12 months and was paid above the median wage for Davidson County. And then the way that they would document that for a 12-month period would be provide their Employment Security Commission reports that they reported 12-month or 4 quarters that this employee was employed. But you do have flexibility on how much money you would grant to them per employee in this grant. Again, it has not been requested in my tenure. So, not to say that they couldn't. We do have, you know, several new businesses coming in. So it could be new or existing. That would do that.
That's a one-time payout.
It is. And it is for one employee, if you add. So let's say an existing business, they currently have their current staff, is adding an additional employee, not current employee load. Okay, any thoughts or comments, concerns on continuing to keep that one? Okay. Number 3 is residential, commercial, and industrial construction. The grant can be awarded to construction of each new resident or business building within the town limits, or the new use of an existing business building, adding jobs and becoming a town utility customer. The grant would be in an amount equal to prevailing fee for water and a sewer tap. In addition, the town would offer a grant equal to 50% of the cost of a rock bore, which applicant over the initial $1,000 deposit for the bore by the applicant. These grants will be paid from the general fund after the builder or owner of the newly constructed residential or business has advanced the payments of these expenses and has received a certificate of occupancy for the completed structure. As you guys are aware, this one we have used many times. Local contractors have utilized this tap fee grant over the past several years, and even to the point of exhausting the budget on that line item. So it has been utilized. not so much the rock bore fee, most of them have not required the bore, but just the initial, tap. And current taps are $1,000 for water and sewer. If they're out of town, it would be water's $2,000. There's a few connections that we have for sewer that would be out of town, it would be $2, but most of those are on handy water, they're out of town sewer.
And the rock bore's anybody's guess.
Right, so we do charge $1,000 up front.
Yeah, I thought we did completely away with that in the
Last meeting, then we voted to do away with that section. Just didn't fund it, I think.
I think we just didn't fund it, but we voted, and I can go back and make sure.
If I recall the minutes, we discussed that we were not funding it, and when we readdressed this policy, because that's when you said you wanted to readdress the policy, you would determine if you were gonna remove it. I think that's what you said. I think the intent seemed to be to remove it based on the non-funding, but I think you were trying to get through the budgetary year and then do this.
Angel, would it look inviting if we done away with the residential and put just commercial and industrial construction and maybe added like a minimum of 5 employees?
You could, that could be an enticement to, have businesses come into the corporate limits of town. I will say that, you know, we're currently going through some restructuring of our EDC board and the way that the county holds that, and one of their comments was concerning, giving incentives basically to come into town. And we feel like the business portion would benefit from that, and I definitely would look into that part of it. The only difference is most of the business locations are probably already in established buildings with water and sewer. There's very few spots that we have for outside of.
So chances of using it's not very high, but at least it's there in case
Right.
something happens.
Absolutely. So, and that would be an incentive that's already established, so they could apply for this, and like you said, you could add the stipulation of having so many employees, and it could be after a period of time.
Yeah.
Right now, we're just saying after they have their certificate of occupancy. So you can absolutely change that if you want to remove the residential portion of that.
I mean, that's the only time we ever paid out in the past, but.
It has been. And I take that back to say we don't have a lot of spaces for business. We do have those that are coming, so, you know, they could potentially ask to have that refunded to them. Any other
The
suggestions?
rock bore, that could just wipe us out and more so on that.
The rock bore
There's
is,
50%.
yeah, we would pay 50% of we would give them back 50% of the rock bore over the initial $1,000. So they pay $1,000 up front. If Michael says it's gonna be a bore under the road, then they pay that $1,000. If we do not have to use that funding, then we refund that entire amount back to them. So if we're, you know, it's a wash. If we're not using it, we give it back. We use it if we break a bore, a bit going under the road. There's times that we've had to actually contract it out, because it's either too deep or, we don't have the equipment to get through the rock. So
We should probably need a limit on size.
that's true. That is true. Because that's when we get into the more money too, for those.
Or if it's anything big with a lot of employees, we're gonna give them whatever we need anyway. More than likely.
Excuse me. So, you know, if you didn't want to include the rock bore part of that, you could eliminate that. You could take out residential. I'm just gonna make some notes here. Leave it as a commercial and industrial construction. And are you still interested in doing, if it's just commercial and industrial, doing the entire tap fee back, the $1,000 for water and sewer for industrial?
I would think so.
I have one yes. Ann,
I would concur.
Dana,
I don't have a problem for commercial.
Julie,
Commercial only, but I don't want to do rock more.
David,
I want to eliminate the whole section.
so, we have majority saying that we would allow for commercial and industrial construction. We have one to remove the rock door. What's the pleasure of everyone else on the rock door?
I mean, it's only 50%, right?
It's, let's see, 50% of the cost of the rock door with the applicant over the initial $1,000.
Right.
So they
So
have
if
to
it's,
pay
$5,000,
$1,000, you're gonna
we
give
would
back.
have $2,000 we'd have to give them back, right?
And it could be, we don't know what's the,
Right, and like Michael said, depending on the size and depending on, the one that comes into mind, I think Michael would agree, on Old Camp Road, that one that,
No, North Main, we done, they wanted $55,000 to do 3 more.
oh, that's right, I
That
forgot.
wasn't industrial or commercial.
No, that was housing,
That's how,
55,000 for
they
a
wanted
board.
$55,000 to do 3 more,
Yeah, but we did it for,
4 days.
Yeah,
As a general
and how many
rule,
bits?
No bid, it was 1 bid.
as a general rule, open-ended ones, you typically see them where we will do a grant up to $1,000 or up to a sum certain. Just saying, over the first 1,000, we're gonna split it with you 50-50.
could be.
That is very
A lot.
risky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it
say
would
we
be
just-
more than the
I agree
budget,
with
the
Julie and
budget's
take it out.
5,000.
Let's take it out.
I agree with Julie,
I'll
take that one.
I mean, Michael, a drill bit, a bit would cost you,
Just $1,000.
Just one.
Okay, so I have two saying remove it, any,
We actually got 3.
okay. So.
I can count. They're not seeing the big picture, but I can count.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna change this to state it as a commercial and industrial construction only, and that you would award the grant would be equal to the fee for water and sewer tap. Is that correct? Do we wanna put any stipulations on the size of the tap, as Michael stated?
There you go, use me.
So they would have 2-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch? Is that what you're saying?
You can have anything you want, 3/4, 1 inch, 1.5 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Everything but 3 of them are water sample.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
So currently,
Everything 3 of them, you got water from Sam.
yeah, Sam Walford has bigger equipment for us.
Okay.
So in just saying that it is the, I guess the standard fee, because we don't wanna put a dollar amount on the fee itself if we keep this, because that changes, your tap fees change with your, fee schedule, and so you would have to update this each time. And then there is that consideration that you did a 50-50. I'm just throwing that out there, that it'd be, a 50-50 refund of the tap fees. That could be a consideration.
You know, talking about these tap fees, I mean, look, I talked to Sam Walker, they just done that board under 109 for Tractor Supply. I'm trying to remember how many thousands of dollars it was. It was $70,000 good. They charged him to bore a 10 or 12 inch duct iron sleeve under that road. It was just unreal thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
For one tap. Because the DOT made them do it. My little 6-inch pipe is $35 a foot now. It's 30 foot. Plus the water line or the sewer line.
Well, you could put a limit on it, up to 2,500, up to 5,000, whatever.
Well, we do have overall that you can only pay out $5,000 to one business at the same location. So you're not gonna pay out any more than that. Our tap fees are $1,000 a piece right now. It does vary, there is a variance if it is a business and it requires a larger tap. But, that's, what do you guys want? Do you wanna set a dollar amount, or do you wanna just, whatever their fee is, that's what you want to reimburse?
Since we have that cap up there at the top, $5,000, at least that keeps us from having to pay $45,000.
Right, it does give you a cap, so that makes me feel better.
Or like she said, do we wanna do 50%? Meet them halfway. I mean, the way I look at it, businesses are coming whether we're doing anything for them or not, they're here. I mean, because
Let's put up, we
this,
don't want nothing new then, but when we come in the Denton.
this budget is so minimal anyway for what kind of businesses that are coming on 109 or whatever.
In establishing it as a business, commercial and industrial, it does already set forth a guideline for you to have for an incentive. So that way, if they come to you and ask for an incentive, then we have this to say this.
It's more or less for looks.
Right, and this
That's
is
what it's all
we
for.
have.
It ain't no money, no matter, it ain't no money.
Well, it's money on the general fund side.
But it ain't huge,
It's not huge,
because nobody's used most all these,
most all of them,
except residential, and you took that out, so
correct.
when you take the residential out, has anybody used any of them since you've been here?
We've had an application for number 5 in the past. So,
Beautification.
but it was denied, it had to be, pre-approved before the work was done, so it did not come before the board for approval. Okay, so we are at approving tap fees, reimbursement of tap fees for water and sewer, no board fee reimbursement, and this will be paid to just commercial and industrial. Did you want to put a stipulation about employees or just leave it at water and sewer taps? Okay. I don't know why my hands are not right tonight. The board, everybody is on board with doing that. I know David's still saying no on all of them, but if we make that consideration of just commercial, industrial, and then do away with the board
Doing
reimbursement.
away with the board.
Is that doable for everybody? Okay. All right, let's move on to number 4. Restoration and renovation. The grant is available for property owners who make permanent changes to the existing properties to improve the appearance of their buildings and also enlarge and improve them. The amount of the grant will be based upon the increased tax value due to the improvements as documented by the Davidson County Tax Department. The grant is an amount equal to, and that's an open for discussion. What percentage would you want the increase of the value to be? And it will be paid annually for 5 years. And after the total tax for that year has been advanced by the property owner, the Denton Planning Board will accept applications and award the grants. Sketches and estimates would be submitted with the application for the planning board and reviewed and approval. Written authorization for the improvement by the building owner must be submitted to the planning board. Invoices will be submitted to the town for verification prior to the payment of the grant. Now, this is a little contradictory because the very last paragraph says that the Board of Commissioners has to approve all grants. So 4 is giving this, power to your planning board. The very bottom says that the board of commissioners has to approve all. And I think
Now, it
that's,
says accept the restoration and renovation grants.
but do you want them to have power to spend money, which they don't
They
normally
don't
do?
have the, yeah, they don't have the authority to spend them.
They do if we give them to them, is that correct?
If you give them the authority, it's not, they basically, they don't have a budget.
Right.
But they, in this document, you're giving them the power to make that decision on your behalf, or on the town's behalf. And they still have to stay within the limits and the confines of that $5,000. So it would have to,
It was designed to take the political rim out of it.
yeah, I can see that. All right, like I said, I'm not sure if that one that came before us fell under 4 or 5, but it was along the same lines. It was renovations and beautification of a building. Is everybody?
I wrote 50% because it's just of what it increases, it's not of the total bill.
Right.
If you increase it $5,000, that's all they get, the increase.
It's just based on the increase of the property value.
Right.
Based on Davidson County.
The improvements, not
Yes.
on reclassification or anything.
Right, yep. So, do we wanna put a permanent percentage in there, instead of having it open-ended?
I think it
I
might
would
solve a
think
lot of
it
problems.
Yeah.
Well, it also, it takes that political realm out of it too. It's like, well, I'm gonna give Johnny Smith, you know, 50%, but I'm only gonna give Joe Smith 25%. So, you know, it takes that out. It's set and as to what it is. So, I'm not seeing a consensus here with
So
everybody.
if you put 50%, it still could not be more than $5,000,
Right,
correct?
that is correct.
And so is it a total of $5,000? Or since this is gonna be given for 5 years, is it 5,000 each year?
Total amount of all payments
Okay,
to one business at the same location.
okay.
So it would be, that would be your total grant. So the most that you would pay out would be $5,000 to one business. So, what's everybody thinking?
I like the 50%.
Dana, what are your thoughts on percentage?
I'm okay with 50.
Julie?
I really don't have any thoughts.
David? Any? Do you like having a set amount over versus an open-ended amount?
Yes, I don't want to put in that.
Okay. On number 5, it's downtown beautification. Commercial beautification grant is established to improve the appearance of Denton downtown. Grants of up to $1,000 are available to qualifying projects to improve the exterior appearance of the business through the investment of new and improved paint, signs, awning, and the like. The grant shall be paid after the completion of the work, and receipts showing the monetary investment will be required. If the business closes within 12 months after receiving this grant, the money must be refunded to the town. Grants will be approved by the Town of Denton Planning Board, which will accept applications, and prior approval for the projects must be obtained. Written permission from the owner of the property must be obtained prior to the application. That would mean in the case where someone's renting someone else's building. The thing that stands out here that we discussed at one point in time is that how do you enforce the payback of a 12-month window if the business closed? So I'm not sure if we can enforce
And
that.
the thing is, aren't those awfully close?
They're very similar.
Isn't it the same?
What, 4 and 5?
I mean,
one,
I mean,
it's-
four is more an addition,
Right.
and 5 is more of a beautification.
The 5 is not, the tax department's not gonna pick up on 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
4 is more like, tickets,
Like,
you know, they've gone, that's one,
Yeah.
that's more 5.
5
Because
is
they
more like
didn't-
putting something out in front of your.
They did an addition to the building.
Like an awning or, you know, we did signs years ago.
Well, at, who was it, Charlotte, the manager at the bank, the blonde, she bought lights and benches in front of the bank with it. One time.
Yeah, and so, and 5 is strictly up to $1,000. So they have to submit what they're proposing to do, has to be approved, and then after it has been completed and receipts have been submitted, then they would be reimbursed up to $1,000 on that one. Even though, you know, our grant says up to 5,000, this one is strictly for that.
Self downtown should say Denton, or town or something, it shouldn't.
Businesses
Corporate
within the
limits.
corporate limits.
Yeah.
Okay, we can change that.
Go on.
Yes.
Worried about you, Ann.
Thank you.
The only thing there I would not agree with would be signs. I don't think, signs is part of doing business. Any business would have a sign anyway. Why would we be in another sign unless we're gonna buy them a better looking sign than we've already got? That's the
Now-
only one.
We did get in trouble with the signs one time because they kept, who was it? We did that, somebody, they moved or something 2 or 3 times, and we bought them a sign each time they
Yeah, there
moved
was
spaces
a big deal with that.
or something, I
Yeah,
can't
we bought
remember.
somebody a table and chair, remember that? The wrought iron one there where the old Ford place used to be. And, for beautification, and then she closed and took it with her.
And I think that the sign part has been discussed a lot of times.
Yeah.
About
I mean, the planters downtown look really
Oh,
good.
one
Yeah.
Just a
failed,
little
it got
plant.
damaged, and then we had to buy them another one, remember?
You can
Or-
put limits on this as well.
Well, and some people, what you were talking about is the enforcement of the 12 months.
Right.
Some people actually, or some areas put it in there that if you do it and it's there for 12 months, then they give you the money. So they have to meet the time, and then it's kind of a reimbursement to them,
We
so
also,
they know.
we also have one.
I think it would be appropriate. Now, Ann, she had a sign out there at the road, but several years ago, she put up the electronic sign. She upgraded. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that, I guess, but the fact that we're gonna buy a new business to sign, I don't feel good about that. It's
What
kinda
about-
like buying on the cash register, you know?
So you could, change your wording in there that, the grant would be paid after 12 consecutive months in business.
I like that.
I think that would be better.
Cause you're really not gonna be able to get the money back if they don't.
We
meet the
didn't,
12
but I can,
Yes,
One got a wand,
so this way it just makes it so that you're
they didn't
rewarding
meet the
them for
employee
doing it.
portion of the grant. That's the one they got.
Okay, so we're okay with leaving it as is,
Just after I left.
including, paint signs, awnings, and the like. I mean, it's, we've had discussion of removing the sign portion, but
It's gotta be approved anyway.
it does. But I'd like for us to have it in really good form when we bring it for
I
approval.
mean, I don't have a problem with the sign, if somebody's got an old raggedy sign out there and they wanna upgrade it, and it's downtown Denton, where they're not breaking the doors down to get in anyway. So if they can put a nice sign out there for $700 or $800 and maybe help their business, that's what this whole thing was designed to do.
But doesn't that make it a
In my
judgment
opinion.
call? I mean, what
Everything's a judgment call.
might look good to me, yeah, but if signs wasn't in there, what might look good to me might look like trash to you.
So I think that having the 12 consecutive months as part of this requirement may help the fact that we're not paying for a sign and they're going out of business in 6 months. So I think that portion can be.
Or leave Denton and just take their sign with them somewhere else.
This is true. They could, which is well, depends on how soon they leave. You could take it, but I think that adding that portion would help keeping business in town and using it for any type of beautification. As Paula will share with you guys in a few minutes, it's signs are quite costly, so if they can get a sign for $1,000, then good luck.
Give them a name, because I wanna know where they're getting it.
You wanna leave that verbiage in there? I think it's good to have some type of definition as to what it is.
But add the 12 months.
I mean, I don't have a problem with having signs in there, but I'm just saying that can become like you said, any of them could become.
Okay, so we'll add the 12-month requirement for the business fee before it's reimbursed. So then the last part says that Board of Commissioners will award all grants except the Restoration and Renovation Grant and the Downtown Beautification Grant. All grants will require a public hearing to be called for by the town board and conducted before the respective board that is granting authority. Public hearing will be noticed by advertising in the paper of general circulation 10 days prior to the hearing. Each grant application approved by the town board or the planning board will be require an agreement between the town and the applicant setting out the terms of the grant award, the public purpose to be achieved, and the necessity of the grant in securing the new jobs, businesses, or utility customers of any increased tax base. The agreement will be specifically set forth that in no case will the grant be advanced to the grantee prior to the fulfillment of the requirements of the grant and in advance of the appropriate expense or payment as described above. I think that's a pretty good statement. We will work on some type of application that would be presented for planning board for those 2 grants and then also for the other. We'll include it all in one, but that way we can get specific details as to what they're requesting. Okay, so we'll update this and bring it back for final approval.
And everything that says downtown is gonna be changed.
Yes.
On number 2.
See what? I'm
What
sorry.
ended up on number 2?
Okay, so on number 2, we did not make any stipulation for the amount that you are going to.
Per employee.
Per employee.
What about $500?
I'm good with that.
Is everybody else okay with that? It's over a period of 12 months and they have to be full-time.
That's above their present.
Right. Above their current staffing level, so adding an additional employee.
And it has to be above median wage
Yes.
for the county.
Which is about 47,000 or something.
Probably.
So the Tractor Supply brings in 20 full-time employees, and they apply for that grant.
Well, you have to find out what their base employee is. So if
Yeah.
they're hiring 20, but then in a year they decide they're gonna add another full-time employee to that, so it'd be 21, that one over would be eligible for that.
That would be
position.
all.
So is everybody okay with $500 for that amount? Okay. Okay, so we'll get this updated and then bring it back to you guys for final approval at the next meeting.
Approved fiscal year 2023 audit contract with County Board. NCGS. Paula.
Okay, so Tony works with Eddie, and he has presented the contract for, approval for the upcoming year, and his fee has not changed. And it looks like, it should not exceed $4,500. And so we're just looking for approval, to provide to them, because they will be, coming soon to start their audit prep.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve Tony Brewer's CPA.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion on that? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Approve employee and volunteer sexual abuse and misconduct prevention policy. Angela Jenkins.
This year, when we started our renewal process for our general liability coverage, there's a lot more requirements that came to us from the insurance company in order to write the policy. It's not anything that's based on us being a town. It is just they are looking at widening their scope of information. They want us to have staff aware of, also volunteers who are within our control. This is a sexual abuse and misconduct prevention policy, and it just outlines what the definitions of this sexual abuse and misconduct would include. It also talks about how this would be reported, retaliation, anti-retaliation and false allegations, how that's handled, investigation and follow-up, reporting it to law enforcement or appropriate child or adult protection services, and then the employee and worker screening selection, as well as supervision of the youth to provide a safe environment for our minors. And once it's approved, we would actually go through training with our staff to review all of this. You guys will have to do the same, being part of our extended staff members, and then also both boards, the Parks and Rec and the Planning and Zoning, so that everybody is up to date on this prevention policy. It is a standard policy. They send you samples. We just drop our name and information in there and make it look pretty. So, just need a, does anybody have any questions or concerns about this?
I didn't read, but if somebody contacts a supervisor and tells them and they fail to track it down the line, does it have something in there?
It does.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes. And we will, what we'll do, so this is the policy, but I think we need to do like a bullet point. I think sometimes it's easier for staff to have that, if this happens, this is what steps you do, and also knowing that the department heads know that same.
Yeah, if you don't do it, then you're fired.
And if you don't do it, you're fired. There's no wiggle room for that one. So, okay.
Is there a motion to approve?
Yes, I do.
I make a motion that we adopt the sexual abuse and misconduct prevention policy as presented.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Update on outdoor market revitalization project. Paula.
Okay, so I provided just a little fresh look at where we started and where we're at to date. The first page shows what the market looked like, how dark it was. After having it pressure washed, you can see that it really did bring it back to the natural wood. I was very pleased with that because I never imagined it coming back clean. I do have quotes that came in for staining this using just a hint of a color, but it really leaves it the natural state. Received a couple of different quotes. One was about double what the others were, so we have requested Nick Gibson to do the painting of this or staining, and so when I reached out to him, it's looking like mid-August before he can start that process. The second image, we are going to be adding brackets to each of the columns, each of the posts, except for the last post next to the building, because they do have gutter down spouts on those, so there would be no way of adding that to it. So this is the image.
Paula, excuse me, I hate to interrupt, but Were we given the figures on those quotes?
I have those, I'll be glad to.
It was actually approved with the budget, so
Okay,
it's just
okay,
updating.
I was
us
just
to
looking
where-
for it, I'll
yeah.
stop looking.
It's just updating us to where we are in the process.
Gotcha.
It was part of our budget item.
I still like to know what the quotes are.
We can definitely pass that along.
Would you like that right this minute?
Anytime. Just,
Bear with me, because I have a stack of stuff that I've been working on here. So Nick came in for, the farmer's market area, $3,500. For, there'll be a later picture for, the pavilion at Harrison Park, $3,150. And that was versus another estimate that we received, one location, Harrison Park was like $9,800. And for the farmer's market, it was $8,765. So, that
Did they
was-
specify what they were gonna be using?
Yes, they did. So I had reached out to Stuart based on, Stuart Sexton, based on Sally's recommendation about the pavilion, and he said to use IPE wool. So that was passed along to them when they quoted their prices. Nick's prices include stain and or IPE wool for the locations that he provided. And the stain for the farmer's market was also included as well.
What was the
It was
name?
Benjamin Moore semi-transparent stain, natural look. Due to the size of the market sign, we've rethought the process and look at adding it in front of the charging station facing Salisbury. It would have posts such as this, potentially adding solar lights to the top of the post just for accent. And then I'm still working on this design. It's just something I did roughly for the party that is loading the stonework for the planters. That would be set up also in that same general area. So I'm waiting on that quote to come in to finalize that. So it basically, you can see where the outdoor market sign would be, a lawn planter, leaving walkways beside of that planter to go through to the market area, and then just raised planters.
is the sign two-sided or does it go, I'm not,
One-sided.
okay.
So really, it will back up to the charging station because we will leave the concrete poles, the charging station there. It'll just back up to that. So you really wouldn't be able to see anything on the backside
Yeah,
anyway.
that's what I was wondering about.
Yeah.
Traffic coming in and out. Parking lot.
And also, and I thought I included it in this, but along the side of the farmer's market, and I apologize, I really thought I had it in here. There's currently on this side, 3-tier, outlined with, I don't know if they're 6x6s or if they're, cross ties, but anyway, removing that, also doing stonework, leaving the center section where you can actually walk up that for those that may set up in the market, possibly having some planters kind of circling around to the front, but not blocking any of the front entrance to that, just a little accent area on either side. And I'm sorry, again, I thought I had that included in this. I'm not seeing it.
Does the sign that was currently made, does it have that buy local, eat local, play local?
So this is what the sign looks like.
So we moved away from our motto, a great place to live and grow.
We actually took the same sign that was there, which said that same statement, buy, eat, play local, which was what we took down.
It did not change.
It was originally, I think it says farmer's market, but that was what was established on there, on that one.
And it was initially made to be a market area, so I kind of feel that that is fitting to that sign personally, but that's one opinion.
The other sign is coming from Farm Bureau, or where'd it come from?
The one for Farm Bureau is still on the building. It's
Okay.
back, well, no, I think it did, I think you're right. The one hanging was Farm Bureau. The one at the back is from North Carolina.
Got my copy.
Yes, and that one got the building. But it was, and like I said, that could have been their tagline, that really for our market that we are trying to promote people. We've got some plans for some artisan markets and things to get people to come downtown, to have it established as a certain day, and to allow, certain activities to take place and schedule and plan so that everybody knows, and it can try to start being a focal point for us again. That's what our goal is, and so with all the revitalization that Paula's are working on, it'll make it attractive too. So not only for the artisan market, but also people could use it for, parties or birthday gatherings and things like that.
Yeah, I don't know where they have figured that out yet, I don't think.
Yeah, that's it. We've only had one party there since we promoted that, so, and it was a teenage birthday party.
That is kind of where I'm at on that. There are other things that I've been working on to try to get ready. I did reach out to a couple of different companies, just throwing out an idea of the town sign, getting a quote just to see where we're even at, what kind of price range we're even at on that. And they're not cheap, as stated. So this one, this gentleman provided, it was over $12,000 for that. Another provided similar design, 15 to 16,000. So of course this is not set in stone. I just basically was doing research to see what kind of money we're looking at to have. I provided you different options before of potential signs. So if there's one there that you like and would like for me to reach out, but and of course the color on this is not set in stone. It's just what I provided to them to have as guidelines.
Did you check with Stone Tree Signs?
I don't know that I have that name.
This is replacing the sign at the top of Red Hill.
Yes. So where is
Stone Tree Signs, I can get you the phone number tomorrow. They're out of Ashborough.
I did reach out to 4 different sign companies, and I've gotten a response so far on 2. Every time I've reached out, they've been kind of covered up. So anyway, murals was another thing that I had talked about initially, because I really feel like one thing when I go into a town, that's one thing I look for. Because I think it tells the history, it tells something about the town, whatever. I just, in general, reached out to a lady that had done multiple ones around. They can either be painted or they can be a vinyl that is heat added to brick.
Rough estimate she gave me, and I told her I was just only in the checking stage, $15,000 is what, now, of course, we've not narrowed it down to size or anything like that, so that would vary. But, that was just a rough estimate, you know. So, with that said, when I had sticker shock with all of these, I did apply for a grant online for $50,000. Keep your fingers crossed that we get it, but it is with help with all of these projects. And I know this isn't something that's going to happen in a year's time. It takes time to get all of this accomplished, but that is something I've been working on.
Trash can.
Trash cans, sorry, I'd forgotten about the trash can. So I also presented copies of some potential trash cans before. They range anywhere from 400 up, depending on how elaborate we want them. But we will be looking at, I believe that's already budgeted into our budget to replace those, so.
There was a question about maybe having them custom made, but they come in about $800 a piece, so we're trying to see where we can get the most for our money on that, so, not sure.
We like to check with Thomasville, see where they got theirs.
We can do that.
The trash cans from Thomasville, I think Bartimaeus by Design made them, which is Eddie Brinkley's business. They are in Thomasville, it's local. He also owns Boondocks, which does a lot of the stuff at the lake. I think he did all the trash cans.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah, and he can, I mean, they've got the ability, if there's a particular design you want, they could do it, you know, something that's unique to Denton. Like ours in Thomasville, I think, have like the big chairs in the side of them. They're nice, they've held up well. People actually make mention of them. So it might be worth looking into. I can get you Eddie's contact
If you don't
information.
mind, I would appreciate that.
Eddie's working part-time now. It would probably be Chad. I'll find out and I'll send you his information.
The only other thing that I would like to add, I know there was some skepticism whether or not we would get the poles replaced downtown. I have received confirmation that they do plan to replace those two down in front of what used to be a Williamson stores. So could be 2 to 3 months out before we see any action on that. So we did have them come out and look at that. So.
Damn, Mayor, didn't make you 10 years.
I was excited.
3 months is nothing.
When he contacted me.
Back to 10 years. Way to go, Paula. Review police department speed study data.
You guys have a copy of this information that was provided by Civic, and these are for Bombay, North Main, and South Main. And we are actually also checking on Flat Swamp Road and Peacock will be next. Bless you. So Flat Swamp and Peacock we're going to do, and then as the gentleman we were talking about earlier, we try to look at doing some residential. We were also talking about trying to find a good place on 109. The area between Rick's Restaurant and Farmington Road is 35, but it's not always 35 traveled. So just trying to figure out the best position for them in order to catch ingoing and outgoing at the same time. So we'll look at that. If you look at the figures on here, and I do not have my glasses on, so y'all bear with me. Your maximum speeds on Bombay, you had one person who was exceeding 70 miles an hour. The rest of them are within 45 to 55. You know, a few that hit 60. Incoming vehicles was 7,247 and outgoing was 7,602. That's what that says. And this was up between June the 8th and June 15th. Now, we we know that sometimes people try to see how fast they can regulate this sign, so that could be the potential there, or it could have been someone actually driving that. It was not up during the shooting that was taking place.
George said it was, it make a little difference.
It was not. So on North Main, you had, 3,536 incoming and 3,233 outgoing. Your highest reporting there is 72 incoming and 73 outgoing. And it's pretty consistent. This was at the 35-mile-an-hour zone, correct?
No, this was in the 45 mile.
Okay.
Coming into 35.
So it's at the 45 coming into 35. So your average speeds are between 55 and 60. You got a few that excel that. But we have had several calls from residents that were actually there where the sign was placed. And they even did a post thanking us for looking into the speed zone in that area.
South Main or
North Main.
North Main?
South Main, your incoming is 3541, outgoing is 3802. Highest reported speed is 78. Incoming and outgoing is 59.
And that's in a 45 or 35? 35.
Now,
It was right there at, South Main, Carolina.
so in this one, the figures are reversed. Incoming will actually be going out of town because of the way we had to put the sign up.
Yes.
So it's reversed. Incoming, there would be speeding up because they're going into a 55. This one, the others are in and out, just like it says.
That makes sense. Sign set in office and.
Yeah, right. You can see that happen. So, like I said, we are gonna do Flat Swamp and Peacock next to try to figure out where the areas of most concern are. And then from there, Mark's already had guys running speed and writing tickets in several areas. So we'll continue to do that and continue to monitor to see what we can find on that.
Hey, the average down there in parentheses,
And which one?
any of them. Says outgoing 34.22
You're asking me and I can't see this thing at all.
or incoming.
If you look at the pie chart,
if
you
you-
have the averages.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't on pie chef. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Your pie chart tells you more, like it breaks everything down together.
Okay.
On the vehicle per hour, like, so the first chart is your average speed. The second one is your maximum, but then the third one tells you in and out how many vehicles are up there at the top. But then if you look at the pie chart, it kind of combines everything together for you. So overall, everybody is within that range.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah, so when you look at it that way, you've got a few, in every area that are gonna push that limit. But, those are the times that, you really hope someone's there who can make a difference in their day.
The good thing is majority are,
Are within reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, the majority are within reason. That the volume is
It's amazing, isn't it?
what bothers me, Bombay Road is over twice the volume of any other place. And it's the only place that has a park, on the road where children and adults walk back and forth to the park. And I know that the percentage is lower. It's like 96% are compliant, and that's great and wonderful. But you've got over double the volume of anywhere else. And, but they all, there's all of them have room for improvement.
Right, they do. I agree. So we'll have the other ones hopefully, to you at our next meeting, and we can do a comparison. Once I get everything compiled, I'll, do a comparison of all.
For some reason, we didn't get the time of day on the sign we did it in North Main. I would think North Main is probably a lot of the employees leaving and going to work at CID.
I do have one other item that we need to add as an item to the agenda. If we can do this as, 10, 11A. And this would be approval of the, elected officers for the fire departments this year. And then you have a copy of that in your packet, but I'll read this out. They held their election on June the 29th, and Brandon Dorset is fire chief. Travis and Scotty Morris both are still assistant fire chief. Harley Hugs is captain. Dustin Covington, captain. Dan Sexton, lieutenant. Matt, is that Howard, lieutenant? I always want to say it different, I'm sorry. Rayford Dorset is your safety officer, and Ronnie Metcalf is your training captain. So I would need a motion to approve that, or to accept that.
I make a motion to accept the officer.
You're really saying grace over it, it's not that we're going to.
Second. Any further discussion? Not. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Unanimous. Town attorney's update.
Good evening. I'm sorry that I sniffled through the entire meeting. I'm doing the best I can. I do not have a lot to update on this public record, but everything seems to be going pretty smoothly, so I think we're all good. Do you have any specific questions for me? I'm pleased that Angel and I are still trying to uphold our scheduled meetings, and that seems to be working well.
Town manager report.
I don't have anything printed for you today. It has been a very crazy Monday, so I'll just go over briefly what I sent you by email the other day. I did speak to Todd Yates on Friday regarding the culvert project that's on South John Street, and he is looking at other options. He said that, he was just as disappointed as we were when we had the continual flooding issue that came through there on June the 23rd. If you guys hadn't seen the video, I did have that on my phone. I'd be glad to show you that. But it was a lot of water at a short amount of time that came through there. But he is looking at other options, leaving the current culvert that is there, but potentially adding another one. And he did say that he would do that at his cost. So he's still in the works of that. I don't have anything finalized on that, but he is trying to see what the best option would be for us on that. I did hear back from John Fuller, and I just thought about that as we were sitting here talking and things were going in my mind. He has sent back his revised drawing based on the recommendations of the board, so I'll send that to you guys in the morning. I meant to have that for you to review, just to kind of sign off on. His plan is to be here at our next meeting to kind of do a 3D rendering of all of that so that we can look at it and start moving forward. As I said earlier, I did reach out to USDA about a potential grant that they have for town hall revitalization, and there's some grant money available for that. We would just have to bring the plans to them and let them see what we have available. Michael and the crew fixed a sewer break or sewer stoppage at the fire department, which took a lot of their valuable time. So we do have a lot of outstanding things going on, but just be patient. We've got water lines to install and water lines to fix and that kind of thing. As you saw in your press release, Mike James has accepted the position as police chief, and he will, he's actually working today and tomorrow filling in as a reserve officer. And so we're looking at the last 2 weeks of July, so you can have some time to work with Mark, getting him in the information for all of our CAD system and reportings that we do for the state. So he's looking forward to that. He stopped by today just to check in, see how things were going, and ask some questions that we needed from him. We still have an officer that we're waiting on training and standards to return paperwork on, and Troy had to leave this evening. He said he apologized that his mother had failed, so he needed to go check on her before he went home. Jason at the water plant has had some health issues over the weekend. He actually went to the ER. He is recovering. His shifts are being covered by staff. We had reached out to them on Friday evening, and I will say I'm very, very pleased that everybody was able to step up and just take it and do what they needed to do in order to give him some time to recover. So his plan is to be back at work on Wednesday. We do have a lot of projects going on there as well, and so that's where we are on all of that. And then I'll just stay here because we're going into concerns and comments, so I'll wait on y'all to ask questions, if you're okay with that.
Commissioner concerns, commissioner comments and concerns.
We're still one man down, police department.
We are, like I said, we've got,
Counting
trainings.
her though.
We're still one down.
Okay.
Yep, we are still one down. We've got another gentleman that we're, putting on as reserve, which I feel like, would be beneficial, being that, Mike James is gonna be our chief. That takes our, really our only acting reserve out of play, right? Am I saying that correctly? So, but yeah, we're still down.
And we're still scheduled to pay this fall.
We're still.
Paid in this fall.
Yes, we're gonna do our bid packets out to pave, yes. Our paving bid packets go out in the fall. Now, I don't know if they pave in the fall or they pave in the spring, but they don't look at me like that.
We said we were gonna pave in the fall.
No, we just said we were going to bid pack out in the fall.
This thing's gonna go 4 years before we ever get any paving down.
Sure, that's exactly
No,
what
I believe we said we were gonna
said.
pave in the fall.
I think we said bid packets go out in August, is what, was recommended by Chris Coyer. So, I know, we gotta get it done.
No, let's just forget about it.
Okay.
I think that feels like what we've done.
Where we gonna put
We
that
ain't paved
money?
in 4 years.
Yeah, it has been. It's been we paved in 2020. That was the last year that we did any paving. And then we did crack seal in 2021. So, it's been a while.
That's what I have people ask me about.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, and the more you ride the roads, I try to do it at least once a week and
We're
cover
gonna
it.
lose some of these streets, it's gonna cost us
Some of them
twice.
are. Some of them are in that bad shape, Broad being one of them, Greenbrier being one. We've got several others. There's portions of Hewlin that's not in really good shape either, so.
Don't you, think we can get it done this fall? Yeah, since, it's not like we're Greensboro somewhere.
I do not know, Larry. I'm gonna say, I've never bid out, street paving, so this is a new part for me. So we'll have to see what we can get done. If it is for, if the company has the availability to do it, then by all means, and we'll let them do it when they can. If you bid it out and they wanna do it in the fall, have at it, cause they'll have the contract, they can do it when they want to.
We're not taking them to state, right, cause we didn't do that.
We're not doing that.
So why don't we go ahead and get ready now and send it to them?
It goes out in August.
Why?
Because
Well,
it's already
July.
July.
I know that, but why didn't we send it out in May and have them paid in September?
Cause that's not how everybody else does it. I mean,
We got everybody else.
Well, I do understand that, but
I mean, there's all kinds of paving companies.
there are all kinds of paving companies, but it was at the recommendation of some, SEPI that we do it in August. Because normally that's their off season and people will bid it out and provide you with what they can do. And they'll put you in where they can put you. And if it happens to be that it's fall, fine. I mean, we're glad for them to come anytime, but it's not guaranteed. In this budget year, we're gonna do paving. So it doesn't matter if it's spring or fall, this budget year, we're gonna do paving.
It matters to the people.
It
I'm
matters.
not saying about the budget, it matters to the people that we hadn't paved in 4 years and we hadn't even put it out for bid yet.
But like I said earlier in this year, we would bid out in August.
And we said as soon as possible, I think.
I think we said August because that's what was
But I think
recommended
the
of our
board
paving
thought-
company.
We would pave in August or September. I don't think they thought it would be next,
I don't know, but
whenever.
I didn't say that it would be paving in August.
I thought we
She
checked, I
said
thought we had
they
asked to check with Donnie Apple and,
Todd Yates.
Yates about doing some paving since
Don,
we
they,
missed the.
and they have done that, but I will say that, Todd Yates is extremely busy. I mean, this project here is on hold. For him to get back on it, he's trying to get work done so that he can get back here. And he's actually looked at a lot of our streets. He feels like there's a difference in what we need to ask for priority in having done. So he has, when he was in town doing all of our patchwork. So we did, how much patchwork, Michael, do you remember? We did a lot of patchwork this past year, so we did take care of a lot of the problems. If you don't do your patchwork, there's no use in paving. So, but I do not recall saying that we were going to pave in the fall. I said bid packet in August. And that was based off recommendations from SEPI, who was the people who did our paving study.
Anything else?
Questions?
Announcements? Updates, new business? I'll adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now adjourn.